All right, so this week we're going to be moving into the figure, and so I'm going to need you to photograph people and have models, friends, family, whoever. So the first ones we're going to do are going to be just in cross contour, and so start practice this, loosely sketch it out, and then come back and add detail. Add the lines across the body, across the fabric, showing the kind of the folds and the forms of the fabric. And then you can come back and darken in the contour lines. Um, but this one you're not really going to shade. You're just going to really just try to focus on the lines that create the illusion of depth and form. And so these ones I'm going to do kind of quickly. I start with kind of a skeletal structure underneath, and then I build from the inside out. Um, and don't try to do the contour first. I try to get the general shape and structure, and then kind of work towards that contour. Um, and work loose and light, and then darken up as I add the cross contour and contour lines. And so very little shading. I add just a little shading just to give it some depth. But for the most part, I'm just looking for lines for the first two that you draw, and then the rest will be all in value. All right. And so this next one, I'm going to show you this gentleman sing along the beach side, and for you to consider that you're going to have for shortened limbs. So his thigh that's closest to him is raised a little bit, which allows him to kind of rest his foot on the bench he's sitting on. And meanwhile, his other leg is his right leg is extended out completely, and we see the bottom of his foot at an angle. So I'm going to again lightly lay this out, sketch out, try to get all my proportions correct. This is my first one, so it's kind of a little rusty, but I'm looking at shadows and looking at cross contour and how I can kind of combine the two, make uh, each line work for both direction and value. Uh, and so coming in, got to work on the hands. Hands are really difficult, I think, when the smaller they get. The larger room you have to work on a hand, the easier. But when they're smaller, the slightest um, mistake is really makes things look awkward. But so here I've come in, kind of laid in the setting as well, just so that it feels like he's not just floating in midair, right? Let you know what he's sitting on, kind of where he's at, and you can do that with just lines. I like to use these directional lines in the in each object in the ground as well as what he's sitting on, just so that you get a good sense of a firm ground plane and so forth. So, kind of finishing up, I feel like his one knee needs to be raised up a little bit, and so I'm going to keep erasing and pulling that out a little bit, playing with it so it just seems right, and that's close to about accurate. So this drawing is a good example of how you can build up those contour and cross contour lines, so you have enough value that you can eventually erase it and bring out highlights. So this next drawing that we're going to do is also of this woman I met on the Corniche, and as part of a project that I'm doing called Kuwait Fashion Fridays. But let's move on to kind of focusing on the drawing. So we started with a vertical line that kind of runs the whole length. I measured the photograph and I'm scaling it 2 times so that it fills the whole page. So I made some measurements, both height and width, and make sure that all my proportions are the same. I'm not going to be worried too much about faces. So all of the models that I have for this are all wearing sunglasses. You don't have to draw the face whatsoever, but I've also come in and I've added some perspective lines to show the setting of the Cornation, the Golf behind her. You don't have to do too much. I'm not looking for a lot. I feel those lines are a little off, so I'm going to come back and, especially in the foreground, kind of play with those. But I'm not expecting too much, but it's good to show at least some shadow. And a few lines in the background really help kind of set the setting and allows the figure to kind of come out from the background, whereas a blank white background seems very flat and doesn't allow for much depth and the illusion of space. So I'm going to do this gentleman's drawing on the inside of a carton on cardboard. And so I cut this carton open and laid it flat. So last week I had some students ask me what to do if they don't have any paper. So this is a great method. And this is just like working on tan paper, but this is a great method for adding and subtracting using both black and white. So I'm going to try to do this drawing with just black and white, and then having that mid-tone of the cardboard to kind of play my 50% gray. Come in and have built it up, and trying to bring out each highlight a little stronger with the white, and push my shadows with the black. And there you have it there. So consider that you can work on a lot of variety of different surfaces. Be creative. If you don't have any paper, you can always work on the back of previous sketches as well. But do consider some other things you can do. So I'm going to do this next one in all ink, laid out sketch really light, and actually I erased it all because I don't like to let my markers get all dirty from graphite. So I actually remove as much of the lead as possible, the graphite from the paper. So coming in and just shading with the gray tone markers, but also kind of showing this cross contour of that plaid shirt. Plaid shirts are a great way of seeing the wrinkles and folds of fabric. Making sure that his thumb's on the bottom of those glasses, and his pointer fingers right on the top ridge of the glasses. So come in, add just a light background, and there you have it. It's going to not too much. Just maybe come in, darken up the shadows, just to pull his face out a little bit more, kind of set his arm out forward, and show a little bit of variation in that black of the pants, and reevaluate the contour. Might have the negative space between his shoes and his the rest of his body. So then here, just kind of finalizing, cleaning that out, and there you have it. So this was a cross contour, all done with ink. So I know that ink and markers aren't on the class supply list, but you can use whatever you can find in your house. And this next one I'm going to do with just the fine tip Sharpie marker. And here I'm going to start this one with all kind of very straight lines, very rigid lines, and then build the curvature over top of it. And I'm going to build all my value just with lines. So this is going to be cross contour and just build up all of my shadow just like that with cross hatching. And as you can see, it takes a little time, but it can be quite rewarding. Adding shadow with just a regular marker kind of gives a variation, so that cast shadow. And then in the end, I came in and added a little colored pencil just to kind of give it more texture. All right, moving on. The last figure I'm going to draw is a self-portrait. It's a photograph my wife took of me in Cairo while I was photographing some street cats. And here I'm going to just do really quick directional lines, and kind of lay it in really fast, kind of try to get the expression of this gesture that I'm making, this pose of being completely bent over and nearly touching the ground. So consider if you pose and have somebody photograph for you, or if you photograph someone else, consider more difficult poses where you have to consider not seeing one side of the body or one arm, where the head is not all the way at the top, where maybe not all the feet are on the ground. So here I've even come in and added some of the cats, but I don't want to add too much detail because I don't want them to be the center focus. I want the attention of resolution to be on me as the figure. Coming in, darkening the pants on the dark side. I'm going to fill in the whole, even the front side of the pants are dark, but not as dark. So that comes with layers and pressure and building it up and being able to see the shadow and the crust contour laid in together, and even finished off with some highlights, pulling that out with the eraser. All right, so let's look at some student examples. First, let's look at figures that were drawn from life. So you have the option of doing drawings from both photograph or anyone that can model for you at home. And I suggest starting off with some practice drawings. So these drawings that you're looking at now are all 10 or 20 minute quick pose sketches. And most of them, what you're seeing right now, are 10-minute sketches. So I would set a timer and try to get a whole drawing done, the whole figure in a page in 10 minutes. It's going to require you to kind of maybe hold your pencil differently, put your thumb on top of the pencil, and to keep your pencil continually moving, and rarely picking it up off the paper, maybe just to sharpen it. But if you use a marker, or if you use any kind of ink, pen of any sort, that you're going to have that continuous flow of ink coming onto the paper. So continue to think of ways that you can loosen up and get really quick about it. And then if you can lay out the whole figure in 10, 15 minutes, you can spend 30 more minutes and really resolve bring it to a conclusion. So these here, kind of building up to I think the longer poses, where you add a bit more value, more shading. You have more time to do that. Once you've gotten the whole structure in, you can finish it off by adding those tonal values. A lot of these started as really quick, loose, fluid sketches that, in class, the way that we usually do it is kind of go around. Whoever wants to model can model. and now we're looking at some poses where you're sitting. So I would mix that up too, standing and sitting poses. Um, Allows you to have kind of these more foreshortened thighs, and kind of view you know, people here with cross legs, um, and how those two legs can interact, and um, as opposed to legs that are spread apart. You know, you're going to want to look at people from side angles, profile, 3/4 angles, even from nearly all the way to the back. Um, you know, these can become important. You never know when they can become important. Um, as I was working as a courtroom sketch artist, I never knew before that I would be drawing the backs of people's heads. And so you just never know. And lastly, we're going to be looking at soon examples where the figures were drawn from photo. So with photo, you have a bit more time, a bit more luxury, but you don't have kind of the person right there. So I like to work from both photo and life if possible, um, because having the person there allows you to kind of see the being and the real form rather than this flat image that's been printed or is on the screen. Um, so if you have the luxury of being able to model or have someone model for you and be able to have and photograph them, you can get more details. You can let them change that pose or leave or whatever, and you can continue to draw them. If you're going to photograph them and work from them as a live model, make sure you photograph from that exact same angle. Hold that camera directly out in front of you and try to get that exact same eye level and angle. Um, the photograph really allows you to look at value as well, and to take a value range finder and place it up against it, either printed or on your screen, to push yourself to get darker, push yourself to make sure your blacks are black. And with photographs, you can think about it. You can go back and look through your archive of photos that you've taken of your friends and turn one of those into a drawing. The one thing that I really require is that I see feet and the top of the head. So be able to get the whole figure into the page, and make sure you fill the page. So think about the scale that it needs to be, and make sure that when you scale it up, that your proportions are the same, both vertically and horizontally. And then you can push it if you want, uh, really dark, and also get into details. So if you have any questions this week, please do not hesitate to email me. Looking forward to what you have to draw. Good luck, and I wish you the best.